Hi, my name is Matthew Phillips. I'm an Associate Teaching Professor of Law and Ethics in the Business School and the Director of the BB&T Center for the Study of Capitalism. Ask anybody who's been out of school for a few years, and they're likely to sheepishly admit that they haven't done as much as they had hoped by that time in their lives. For many of us, that's because we don't do any very good strategic planning about our own lives, even if we've learned and applied those skills at work. Strategy is tough to do, especially for people's lives that have a lot more variables than most businesses would. How to fix this? Treat yourself like a startup business. An entrepreneur starting a new business has to make a pitch to investors for the money that they'll use to get their business going. So do the same thing. Make a pitch to your future self about how you want to use the next several years of your life. This makes sense because in a very real way you are borrowing from your future self as you live your life right now. This is true in financial terms. Every $1,000 that you spend today is $53,700 that you won't have in retirement if, for example, you'd saved it instead. And every bit of time you use now is time that either will or will not contribute great returns to who you are as a person later on. So in a very real sense, you're borrowing from your future self. Check in every few weeks or every couple of months about how you're using this time and adopt a different persona as a future self to decide whether you think you're making good use of the time. This doesn't mean that everything has to be work or that you can't have fun and have some frivolous experiences, but it means that you're thinking critically about how you're using that time. It turns out when you talk about borrowing from your future self, that throws a mental switch for us because now the way we use our time feels like loss. And human beings have a cognitive bias that means that while we enjoy gain, we like getting new stuff, we hate loss. We passionately hate to lose things. And so when you feel like you're losing time, you're much more guarded about how you'll handle it. Several years ago, my wife and I traveled to Europe. And on one day in Vienna, we decided to have a picnic in the park for our lunch. So we went to the grocery store and we gathered cheese and bread and wine and fruit and had it ready to check out. And the woman at the front told us there was going to be a fee for a plastic bag. Of course, we didn't have any reusable grocery bags with us. We were tourists. But we did not want to pay that fee. Now, every time I go to the grocery store would give me a small discount here in the States if I used reusable bags, but I don't do most of the shopping and I hardly ever remember to bring the reusable bag in with me. I never go outside to get it just so I can grab that tiny discount. But when this grocery store was going to charge me a fee for using a plastic bag, my wife and I looked at each other and said, "They're crazy." And we pulled our shirt tails out and put all the food inside our shirts and waddled across the street to the park with our picnic. We must have looked ridiculous, but we didn't want to lose that fee. Using this cognitive trick, thinking about current spending as loss, can help you make better long-term decisions because you don't want to lose what you might have in the future.